Welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. I'm your host, Mike Vierman. I'm here with our friend and trusted producer, Max Kerman. We're also with our pop culture aficionado, Shane Cunningham. And joining us back on the dials is Erica. Guys, how's it going? What's been going on?
I'm pretty good. I got to host the book launch last week. Did I talk to you guys about this? The Nick Nurse book launch? I know we did it before, but did I give you a recap?
Not since. No, I tuned in a little bit.
I caught that you sent me a link, and I was watching it.
Oh, what did you think of my job? Do you think I did a good job?
I thought it was good. Yeah, it was very relaxed. Your internet connection, though, did seem not as good as Devlin and Nurse. I thought you might have paid extra attention to making sure you had great clarity, but you did not, which kind of made you seem cooler in a way.
I was using Ash's computer, and we were on the Wi-Fi at the Raptors practice facility. So I don't know why.
Yeah, they were in the same room as you. Yet
I was 2 feet away from them.
Yeah, it was very cool, though. I learned who his Nick Nurse's favorite player was. I didn't think he'd actually answer that question, so it was cool to hear him actually say the answer, which I'm not sure if we can say here. But
it's Kyle Lowry, right?
Yeah, okay, we can.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like sometimes I say stuff and we have to cut it, so I figured to save you the trouble, Erica.
It was a public interview.
Oh, I thought it was like a very exclusive thing that we got. Like we got a secret link, and when I typed it in, it's like your email will be saved, and the host will be notified that this is Shane. And like it was very intense to type in your name.
If you were listening, casual. It was hosted by Indigo, the biggest bookseller in the country.
No, I missed the first minute or two. Okay. Had to put a baby to bed, Max.
That guy came in hot too. Whoever the Indigo guy was off the top there on the intros.
He's living for that intro. What's that guy's name? Ash? Jeremy. Yeah, he hosts all the talks, I think, and yeah, he was very excited. But yeah, it was a cool thing because I miss just doing stuff like that, things that I normally would have got to do on a regular basis. So getting a chance to hang out with Matt Devlin, obviously playing a couple songs with Nick Nurse, that was exciting for a crowd. Just these are things that old Maxie hasn't got in 2020 at all. But the coolest part was, and I sent a video to our NBA Facebook chat group, was that Nick gave me a shooting lesson. And it was very cool to get the instructional. Actually, I said, well, the main thing I haven't been doing is putting real backspin on the ball and trying to keep the rotations really straight. And then I think, Mike, you commented, for $8 million a year, I could tell you that too.
Yeah. Well, because you were sending the videos and it was cool and all that stuff. And then you're like, oh, spin. Nick's telling me I need more spin.
Yeah, when I was 12, they told me that at my basketball camp. I don't think it's that genius. I'm not saying Nick's not a genius. I'm just saying that piece of advice is not genius.
Well, the cool thing is the basketball that he's developed, and we'll have it here in the shot, is that there is this perpendicular line that goes against the normal lines you see on a ball, and it's supposed to keep it the rotations really straight. So it's a really helpful little tool. And I'd say the coolest thing is that you hit the shot, you hit the shot, you get to move back a foot. It's just a kind of a classic shooting drill. But Matt Devlin was watching. I got all the way back to the 3-point line, and he called it. He was like, "It's good, and it swished right through the hoop. And so I felt like I was a professional there for a moment. It was very cool.
Are those Nurse balls? Are they outdoor balls?
Yeah, this is the outdoor edition. He also has a nicer indoor one with probably leather, but this is kind of like the more more street ball version. So it's good.
You get your hands on any more of those outdoor balls?
I could. I'm sure I could.
Yeah, I'd love one.
I'll hook it.
Yeah.
Maybe. Paul's for the bod. Balls for the pod. Yeah, all around. I think that's what the name of this episode is going to be called. Paul's for the bod.
Balls for the pod. Or Paul's for the bod, which I actually kind of liked more.
Paul's for the bod. Bod. But yeah, so that was cool. It's fun. We hung out with Matt Devlin at the Nick Nurse Foundation dinner on March 11th, the day the world shut down. So it's nice to reconnect with him. It's also, you really appreciate him as sort of like a public broadcaster because he just has that voice. Max, you're just having a normal conversation with Matt, and he couldn't be a more lovely, sweet guy. And it's truly who he is a broadcaster. He was like born to do it. And Max, we were down there, we were doing the games. He like talks to you like Matt Devlin all the time.
It'd be funny to see him pissed off.
I gotta say I'm feeling really steamed right now. But it's always like analysis.
They forgot my fucking French fries. They always do this at the drive-thru.
So like you just feel like you're always on TV, even in a private conversation with Matt Devlin.
Oh, totally. I was asking about his kids. A couple of his teenage sons play hockey, and he's like, Max, they came to Canada when they were 12 years old, but they wouldn't have been playing hockey otherwise because they were born down in Memphis, where my last job was. But I got to say, they're proud Canadians now, and they love hockey. And one of them's getting a scholarship. Actually, we just decided that he's going to be going down to Ithaca, New York. He's going to be playing down in Cornell. Anyway, it was just it was great. But Matt is a sweetheart, and just because I feel like around the music industry, there's a lot of kind of jokers around and people that are kind of like the aesthetic of the music industry is a little more casual, a little more arty, a little more flighty, I'd say. But with the Raptors and a professional sports organization, it's more like, military or something. There's more like responsibility and like, probably corporate energy that it's kind of interesting to be around. Like, I'd say this. So we played Quitting You and I fucked up the last part of the song. And I'm like, I fucked it up. Sorry. And then whatever. Afterward, both Nick and Matt and Nick's assistant Jenny were like, I loved it when you swore. That was so cool. Because, you can't swear. Matt Devlin, you can't really swear like in a professional setting. And I did. And I was sort of like the bad boy of the interview. Wow. So that was fun. That's what I've been doing. Shane, I want to know all about this Alyssa Milano interview because I saw that come up. Did I know that you were doing that? Did you tell us that?
No, I didn't have any time to talk where I mentioned it, but I was very I had a bit of a crush on her back in the day, so it was cool. I talked to her, and then I have my other crush coming up with Shannon Sossaman. So I'm really crushing it lately. But
Alex must be going nuts, though. Like Alex is a jealous type, as we know.
I didn't really tell her. I didn't tell her about the Milano thing. That I'm
sure she knew though. Who doesn't have a crush?
I didn't tell her.
Who didn't have a crush on?
Well, she didn't even know that Alyssa was from Who's the Boss. So I'm like, Who's the Boss was my show growing up, and I was, around her age, so I could have a crush on her and it not being weird because she was, very young on that show. But so this crush has been lasting for years. And then, we were up at the cottage, Alex's cottage, and the Wi-Fi is a little sketchy at times. So the whole time you're more worried about the Wi-Fi crapping out than you are the actual interview. So it kind of helped. So just talking to her and seeing the stream was working comforted me and made me a little bit calmer than I probably would have been otherwise. But she's almost 50 and she still looks the same as she always has. And by the way, she's a COVID long hauler. So she's been losing her hair and a whole bunch of stuff going on with her, but she still looks great.
Like her genetics COVID, are like,
right? Yeah, describe to our listeners what a COVID long hauler is.
So a COVID long hauler is someone who's still experiencing residual effects after the 2-week period of having COVID, and supposedly you're immune after that 2 weeks, or maybe that's the theory, but she's still experiencing it. And it's every week she seems to be having a new symptom that's bothering her. Like she was saying, her blood is right now.
Because she's jealous?
No, Alex's blood was boiling, but Milano's was bubbling. And it's very similar to that of lupus, because Alex was kind of relating to her on her random symptoms that she gets. So we don't know, like, is this a lifelong thing that's going to stick with some people? Because obviously COVID is still in its infancy. So it's just like, Alyssa's kind of used to this new life of having this new disease. It's very interesting to talk to her and how she even found out she had it. She suspected she might have it and tested twice and it didn't show up. So then she went back on her third test is when she actually found out that she had COVID, and she was co-sleeping, like same bed with her kids while she had COVID. Luckily they didn't get it.
That's a crazy thing. I saw somebody who got COVID back in March, and they still cannot taste or smell to this day. And it's just so mysterious. That's the thing that's so fucked up about COVID, is that some people got it and don't even know they had it. And then other people got it and they're still feeling it. And that makes it so scary. I also started talking to somebody else whose roommate got it and was in close proximity with the two other roommates. And the two other roommates didn't get it. So it's just so mysterious how it affects you. But Shane, what was the chemistry like?
Really good. Oh yeah, we were like bonding really good over anxiety because I didn't know, since she's an actress and public speaker, you think these people are always going to be calm. But she's like, I have terrible anxiety. I'm a real like pill for my husband, and I'm like, oh, I'm like a real pill for Alex. You know, I'm always bothering her. Like I'm so annoying to be with. And I'm like, I asked her a question: if having anxiety made her uniquely prepared for coping with the lockdown and getting COVID. And then she was like, yes, exactly. Like she explained that she was telling her therapist and a little concerned that she was so calm when COVID struck and the quarantine hit. And it almost just made her feel like, oh, now everyone can feel the way I'm feeling all the time, which is a little bit different than the feeling than I felt. But I did have a definite calming effect when quarantine went down.
I think we've talked about this before, but are there certain celebrities that you think, I think they'd like me? Like, there's certain that, like, so for instance, I'll give you an example. Ariana Grande, I don't think she'd like me at all. I think if we met at a party, I don't think I could achieve any chemistry with her. But I was listening to this podcast about Mariah Carey because she has a new book out, and for some reason, I think Mariah Carey would really like me.
Really?
Yeah.
No, you're both too diva-esque. She needs someone who's really gonna take care of her.
Okay, but here's my question, Mikey. What celebrity do you think you'd really hit it off with, and what celebrity do you like, but you're like, she wouldn't like me at all?
I have this in like this. Maybe I'm delusional, but I think that every celebrity would like me. Like I
no, but like
you mean if they got to know me for real? Like yeah. I don't. It's a good question. I feel like I get along with everybody. You know, like in that sense.
No. I'm saying like, who do you? Okay, let's go the other way. Who do you think? Who do you like? But you're like, I just don't think I'd have a chance with her. Like Natalie Portman. Do you think Natalie Portman would be out of your league? I mean, she is out of your league. But do you think?
Is this a roast now, Max?
I don't know. I guess I would say that I'm like intimidated by people like I'm like David Letterman. David Letterman to me seems like so savvy.
No, we're not talking about David. We're talking about
stop avoiding it, Mike.
Stop.
What you're saying? Like what
who
girls
wants you? What celebrity wants you?
All right.
Got to really spell it out sometimes.
Danica doesn't listen to these things.
Yeah, is she like in the closet or something? What's going on, Mike?
If I could have, okay, so who would it? I don't know. Do you guys have a sense?
Shane. Okay, we're going to Shane. You think about this.
Okay,
Shane,
I have a theory, and it's people you really like. You like them for a reason, and that reason is that they'll probably like you back. So everyone I've pretty much had a crush on, it's because there's some sort of energy floating about where we're on the same wavelength, and everyone I've liked has liked me back. But people who are just like whatever, I'm like, oh, I could probably get them. They hate me. They want nothing to do with me.
Okay, so Alyssa Milano, you think
I feel like
in another
could.
life you could
Shannon Sossaman, I feel like yes.
You think you could? Okay, but who's someone who you maybe like, but like I don't want anything to do with this guy.
Who wouldn't like me?
Yeah. That you kind of like though.
Who do I kind of like?
This is the dumbest segment of all time. Sorry, guys.
I'm trying to think. Michelle Pfeiffer, maybe?
Okay.
No.
Okay.
But I feel like if I worked on it, yeah. Okay, sorry.
Go. Erica, go for it.
Okay, so males?
Yeah, males. Yeah, or whoever you're
whatever you're attracted to.
I feel like I honestly feel like Timothée Chalamet and I would really vibe.
Ooh,
Timothée
I like
Chalamet,
that.
okay.
Yeah, I think we would.
Two skinny little brunettes, both of you.
Yeah. And believe it or not, you guys, but I have like a sort of deep intellectual side too. And I think he does as well. So we would vibe on that level.
When's that side coming out, Erica? No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. You're obviously way smarter than me. But have you seen the footage of him making out with his girlfriend? Who is that? Oh, he's on a boat. And he's shirtless, and he's making out with his girlfriend. And it was really embarrassing because apparently the makeout isn't cool looking. So he released a statement just how embarrassing.
Is he dating someone famous?
Come on, you released a statement?
Well, it wasn't a statement. It became like a quote in like papers and stuff, just how he was on like a talk show. But
there he is. There's a photo.
Who's his girlfriend?
Lily Rose Depp.
Johnny Depp's daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he looks really nerdy here.
Does that change things for you, Erica?
No. I feel like I like him even more now. He's a little more real.
Yeah, gettable.
Who do you think you couldn't get though? Like who you like? I like this guy, but he's just out of my league.
Probably like anyone kind of in like the hip hop scene. So maybe like even like a Justin Bieber. He's a little too cool. I just don't really. I'm not really up to date with what's happening in like the hip hop scene and stuff.
What about Chance the Rapper? Do you think you could date him?
I just don't think. Yeah, we would have a lot to talk about. He might think I'm a little surface level. Chance wouldn't like me. I don't think. Yeah. I don't think he would.
Okay, Mike, back
has
to
that
you.
been enough time?
I would say that someone who I didn't think I would necessarily like vibe with. I think BB Rexa and I had a very good chemistry in the room when I was talking to her. That's not to say I think that there was anything other than I just think that for the half hour we were talking, we enjoyed each other's company and it got deep and in a good way. And she, she felt comfortable.
Surprise.
She kind of was like going through all of these sort of the way that she felt about certain things in the music industry. So, and not someone that I think that I would connect with. And then for somebody who wouldn't like me, like as far as like what you guys are asking, it's probably like a lot, like I'm a pretty like,
This is all make believe though.
I don't know. I mean, who do you guys think would be put off by me? Like anybody that would be like ostensibly high maintenance, I feel like wouldn't appreciate sort of my casual approach to things.
But I think like you're so good at reading a room though too, and like giving what you think people need, and I just feel like nobody wouldn't like you, like no celeb, because you could kind of like adjust yourself and your vibes in a way that you can like that you would make them be able to.
But I feel like someone maybe like a Kristen Stewart who's always trying to be so authentic. She might mistake your kindness and your affability for phoniness.
See, but I would think though that after like 10 minutes, she would see that I was actually into like, I think at first I can be very like, oh, is he being Matt Devlin-y? You know what I mean? Like blah, blah.
Yeah.
But after 10 minutes, I feel like BB Rexa or like Banks, who is also on the thing, I think they'd be like, oh, okay. Like this guy is actually talking to me and he's understands where I'm coming from. I would think, but to your point, maybe there's some people you just can't win over and they're going to be like, he's a fucking podcast host. And just that in and of itself is like a big put off. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like I almost like to pretend we take away our job titles and status.
Yeah. Like if you just met in the bar.
Yeah, because I'm talking about Mariah Carey being into me. So I don't
Who's not into you, Max? Like
Great question.
Oh, Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande definitely not
What is
into
it about
me.
her that you think she wouldn't be into you?
Oh, I think I'm too schleppy for her. I feel like she'd want more.
She dated Mac Miller and Pete Davidson. No. I think you'd be up her alley.
Interesting.
Really? But you're not. Max isn't very Pete Davidson-y or Mac Miller-y. You're too clean.
Shane's taking this personally, by the way.
No. I'm just saying you don't have tattoos and
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all silliness. Mikey, what have you been up to lately? Give me an update.
Well, today is actually my daughter's birthday, her second birthday.
Whoa, that's a big one.
Yeah, she's 2 years old.
Is it a big one?
How the time
Yeah,
flies.
it's the best one, I think. For a kid, that's big. They can start moving around. They're like their own person. Their real personality starts coming out.
Yeah. It's, well, they also say it's like entering the terrible twos. So we're gonna see if she gets more defiant and start scamming at bedtime, trying to stretch it out. But it was funny because like this morning, like we woke up and she came into our bed and we're like, oh, happy birthday. And there was this video that I made for Danica's first Mother's Day, which is like every clip like on my phone of like Danica giving birth, like basically like before, like when we found out she was pregnant, and then like sort of the day she went to labor, and then the birth, and then bringing Win home, and then that full first like kind of like year of Win's life I made into like a Mother's Day gift. So then this morning we thought, Win, you're like 2 years old. She kind of can understand what a birthday is now. We were like, let's like watch this video and, go back to the start. It's like the journey of your life. She's like, okay. So we like start playing the video and like, we get like halfway through and she's really kind of into it. And she sees like the cats for the first time meeting her. And so she's like, Rafa, Dutchie. Like, yeah. And then like we get to a clip and then she just starts like bawling, like crying uncontrollably. And we were trying to figure, like me and Danica were looking at each other and we were trying to figure it out because it was like right around a scene where Danica was cutting her hair like for the first time. So we think that her getting her hair cut triggered her, Or like, I was like, is she having like her first existential crisis where she realizes she can never be young again? That she's like, she can't go back, and like she's starting to understand exactly the implication of seeing like the day she was born and then 2 years later, like we didn't know, and then we told her it was gonna be okay, and
could be tears of joy too, though, like a nostalgic kind of walk down memory lane. It's like those were some good times.
It was more distressed. It was definitely but then we calmed her and she finished the video and we moved on. And then also I'd forgotten until I looked at Instagram. I was like, oh fuck, and Daniel's like, what? I'm like, it's not only Wynn's birthday, it's Drake's birthday today. And the Danica goes, oh my God. And I was like, what? Like, I got scared. She goes, I didn't get him anything. And I was like, oh, shut up. Leave me alone.
Hey, yeah. Mikey, because sometimes, I'm watching your Instagram stories and I think, I'm like, who is she acting more like? And whenever she's acting a little out of control, I think, oh, she's getting more Mike's side right now. like, can you tell like when she starts acting kind of more like Danica versus you? Does that exhibit itself at that age?
Yeah, whether like we're sort of seeing that and like putting that on her, like we're seeing what we want to see, or it's true. Yeah. I think that like she's honestly like a mix right down the middle. Like there's times where she's super quiet and reserved, and like she's very like good at staying back and sort of observing things before she decides to jump in. And then there's other times
she's drinking like 7 Coors Lights and she's like watching the Raptors.
Yeah, exactly. I drink them with her. We have a good time. And she'll be like super extroverted and just like throw caution to the wind or be like silly. And she actually like kind of like splits down the middle with the way those things go. So I do feel like she's a mix of both of us kind of pretty equally.
Does she have tantrums yet, or is she fairly calm?
She's calm, man. She's calm.
Yeah.
Like there are times where it's like, say she doesn't want to get in the car and she'll kind of like, she'll be like, no. And then you kind of put her in the seat and then she chills out. So it's like, we haven't had any of those, like you're having to like super negotiate or whatever. So it's pretty good that way.
Good.
But sometimes she'll be like in a mood.
Shane and Mike, whenever they're exhibiting any quality that's a negative quality that you think that your kids have inherited from you, do you feel immense guilt? This is kind of why I don't want to have a kid, because anytime they do anything shitty, I'm like, it's definitely because of me and my shitty genes, and this is what I pass on to you. I'm sorry. We should have never done this. I'm sorry you were born. That's the conversation that I would have with myself in my head. How do you guys suffer from this?
I don't feel immense guilt. I just kind of know what to watch out for. Alex and I were just talking about it last night, how Lou is such like she has all of our like wild energy qualities, and it's hard to tame Lou or calm her down. And so that's a little concerning, but we're just going to treat her, let her learn moderation. Like that's our big thing, because if you give her one Timbit, she wants another and then another and then another, and like I can't eat a pack of gum to this day because I'll eat the whole pack within 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
That led to the great
certain things I can't do that it took me many years to learn. You cannot do this, or you're just not going to be able to stop yourself.
My joke was going to be that led to the great Hubba Bubba incident of '98.
But I can't eat Hubba Bubba. My jaw would just kill because I eat the whole thing. And the second a little bit of flavor's gone, I pop more in my mouth. What about you, Mike?
No. I mean, we've been very fortunate that she hasn't like really displayed any like if we give her a Timbit and then we tell her there's no, like she'll try to sneak another Timbit 100%. But if we're like, no, that's mom's donut, she'll be like, no. And she'll like actually chill on the Timbit. So like we're pretty like that way. And then, but she does like, she scams now at bedtime all the time. Like she wants one more book, you know what I mean? So she just want to go to bed. So then I like have to like negotiate with her. And then I kind of appreciate that she's trying to negotiate with me. And I'm like, well, I see a bit of myself in that and I can't really hate the game. I just got to respect that she's trying to make it last. But no guilt. They're going to be who they're going to be. Like Shane said, you just got to kind of let it develop and look out for any super troubling behavior. Otherwise they're going to be who they're going to be.
And if anything, it's a massive advantage because you're you and they're a part of you. They think the way you think. Yeah. So it's like a little secret unlocking code.
I was talking to, I was hanging out with my nieces and nephews yesterday. We went for ice cream. It was a really nice hot day in Toronto. And manager Ash was there too. And she pointed out afterward, I just talked to all of them like I'm Larry David. So like the 9-year-old is doing this thing where she's like talking in this weird voice. She'd be like, I don't know what I want. What does this mean? I don't know what kind of flavors to have. And I'm just like, Ellie, can you stop talking like that? That's not what you sound like. Your voice doesn't sound like that. Stop it, okay? Just talk to me like a normal person, okay? Stop it. Like all of them, I'm just like, no, stop it. That's enough.
So you're not the fun uncle, I guess.
No, we have a good time. I bought them ice cream. Yeah.
He's the rich uncle.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I said to Emma. Emma's in grade 8, and I called her on her cell phone, and I was like, Emma, what are you doing? We're going out for ice cream because the other kids go to a different school. And she's like, I'm hanging with my friends. I'm like, do they want ice cream? She's like, I don't know. There's a bunch of us. I was like, I'm rich. Doesn't matter. I'll pay for all the ice cream.
Bring them all.
Yeah.
Do you let them get as many scoops as they want and like the fancier cone? Like the waffle cone?
They're pretty low maintenance. I gotta say, they don't like really. They're not spoiled kids. They kind of like are happy with whatever they're given. It's a good quality they have. So shouts to them. They're good. Yeah.
But the one sounds very annoying with that voice.
No, she's great, but she's just been doing this annoying voice thing. But I relate because I remember like when she's probably in grade 3. I think around grade 3 or grade 4, I did this thing because this new kid at the school, Lindsay Bolter, had all of us talking in baby voices, and we thought it was so cool that Lindsay's like, "Oh, we're gonna have a little baby," and we thought it was cool. And so I remember being at the dinner table talking in my baby voice. And my dad, who is nothing but like an adoring father, who like rarely criticizes me like ever. He's just like such a loving guy. I remember him being like, "Can you stop that, please?"
It's so funny. I think of how many like fads, like if you were to take like, just there wasn't a lot of filming when we were kids, but it's like if kids had cell phones when we were kids, like how many funny moments would I cringe at? Like I tried on so many different like sort of like personas from like 12 to like 16. Like I remember I like shaved steps in the side of my head like MC Hammer because I was like I went to the barber with a photo of MC and I was like, give me that, you know what I mean? And it's like I roll into school with the steps in the side of my head, get mercilessly made fun of. But I'm always laugh at those things, like the idea of you trying on a baby voice and your parents just probably being like, oh God.
This is so fucking annoying.
I used to wear my clothes backwards, like Crisscross, the rap group. And I took hip hop dance class.
You did?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
To be young.
That's because I kind of want to do that right now. So,
Erica, have you done anything sort of super embarrassing that you wouldn't?
So many things, but I've done a really good job at repressing all of them, I feel. And I rarely think about them anymore because if I do, I will be in a deep circle of cringing for the whole day. So yeah, I definitely had a lot of horrible bits as well from like the 7th grade to the 8th grade, but I don't think about them very often anymore.
Yeah, but I guess that's when kids sort of figure out who they are. They try on a bunch of different weird things and then, they probably really figure it out in their 20s or whatever. But Shane, this is the one thing I'm kind of dreading as a parent is it's like at some point, like our daughters are going to be like 13 or 14 and they're going to sit down at dinner. They're going to do like a baby voice or whatever the equivalent of that is, like Max is saying. And you just kind of got to be like, you know what I mean? It's like, do you let them sort of do it and you just kind of like cringe your way through it? Or do you got to be like, wait, what are you doing?
Well, I did have a really heavy eyeliner phase where I wore just so much black eyeliner. And it was during my goth kind of phase too. Everyone had a goth phase, I feel, where they were into like Evanescence and stuff. And,
did you wear a choker?
Yep, wore a choker. Like knee-high socks and stuff. That was really bad. But my parents just like kind of let me do my thing and get it out of my system. And thank God I did. But yeah, that eyeliner was thick at one point in time.
It's funny that your goth phase was Evanescence because when we were for my high school, it was Marilyn Manson was like the goth phase. And I just saw a funny joke on Twitter yesterday that said Marilyn Manson just had his rib reinserted so he can focus on music again.
That's funny.
Because that was one of the
he was giving himself oral sex.
That was the rumor in high school is that he had a rib removed so that he could give himself oral sex. Yeah. So I love that this joke literally had to marinate for 25 years and then it hit me like a ton of bricks on Twitter. I'm like, that's good stuff.
There was a funny TikTok actually, speaking of that the other day, which you're gonna have to see, but basically somebody retweeted saying like this TikTok's never resonated more, where basically you're late for school and then the teacher catches you in the hallway and the song starts playing and basically it's "Oh Canada" and you're not allowed to move in the hallway to get to your class until "Oh Canada." You're trying to sneak away as it's happening. We'll post it on the account, but it was one of those things like, oh wow, that's a real throwback feeling to being late but not being able to move because "Oh Canada" is playing and you're
totally
trying to run down the hallway.
Totally forgot about that, and that was absolutely a thing.
Yeah. I went through my phase, which I'm not embarrassed by, maybe I'm a little embarrassed by, was I was very into hip hop in like grade 7, 8, 9. Still, I'm very into hip hop, but like really obsessed with going to, was it Marshalls? It was Marshalls, like the Winners of America.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And so we'd go down to Buffalo on these like shopping trips, and they didn't have Marshalls up here, but you could get Rockaware for a really good deal. So I had these like Rockaware jean jackets, and I definitely wore FUBU for sure. And do you remember Echo? There's Exco for the poor kids, and Echo if you could save enough money. So I wear that.
Did the Echo have the Buffalo logo?
Yeah, exactly.
I bought one of those coats, and it literally was all the money I had for the year.
Was it a buffalo or a rhino? I thought it was
a rhino.
It was a rhino. It was like some sort of animal, but I remember the logo, and I bought like this like red windbreaker that was like Echo to impress like a girl. Like I was like, oh, she'll think that I'm like I've got I don't know, money or something if I have this fucking coat. And it was so anyway, whenever I hear Echo, I think about like saving up all my money, buying that stupid coat, and then not having any money like after that for a very long time.
Was the girl impressed?
Yeah, I know.
You a poser.
Didn't work.
But I'd also wear my socks into my pants. Remember that fashion moment? Do you remember that? Like,
I missed that one.
Tucking your socks into the back of your pants.
Like the pants.
Isn't that only if you're riding a bike, though?
No, now it's been appropriated by Blundstone
Bikers?
wearing hipster bicyclists.
Oh, okay.
But back in the early 2000s, it was a hip hop move. Oh fuck, I got to.
No, I did it because all my pants were very baggy, so I would put the back of the pants into the.
So they didn't drag and like.
For me,
I just let them drag all over the ground.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a hip hop thing because people definitely made fun of it afterward. But
I remember in the movie Kids, the reason that he puts the socks over his pants is because he steals 40s of Old English, and so he puts them down his pants into the leg, and it won't slide out the bottom of the pant if the sock is holding it. So I used to steal my malt liquor back in the 90s. All right, guys, do you want to get on to topics?
Yes.
Let's do it.
It's a good 40-minute open.
Hey man, just catching up, shooting the shit. Actually, while we were talking, I missed a call from my Oma, who I think was calling to wish Winona a happy birthday. But I'll call her back. I want to have a nice long talk with my Oma. She's always a good chat. Guys, there's a new Borat movie out. It dropped on Amazon Prime the other night, right around the time of the debate, which also happened on Thursday night. Guys, let's talk about Borat. What did we think of the movie? Did we enjoy the first one? Were people excited about this movie? Obviously, before it released, it had this very smartly by Amazon. They allowed critics to see it, I think about 24 hours before they made it available. And everybody talked about the Rudy Giuliani scene. It became sort of this massive talking point. It owned the news cycle. Screen grabs like from the screeners like started showing up on Twitter, and it caused like sort of this massive buzz. What were your guys' thoughts going into this film? Let's start with Shaney Boy.
I was excited about it because, obviously the Borat film was so cool and kind of groundbreaking in a way because you didn't really seem like see a classic movie narrative intertwined with fucking with people. And there's something very cool about that. So obviously with Borat 2 coming 14 years later, the fastball is being taken off that a little bit because we go in there with such crazy expectations. This film might be better than the first one, but because we're desensitized a lot now, 14 years later, that it takes like 4 times. It has to be 4 times better for us to get the same reaction that we got from the first one. So I couldn't help but feel disappointed watching it. And obviously, Sacha Baron Cohen is handcuffed a lot because he can't go out in public as the Borat character, because the Borat character is so famous and infamous depending on where he goes. And I don't love when someone else is, when he's the characters where he's playing other characters, where he's wearing makeup trying to be like a Texan or an American. To me, that character isn't as funny. And I've already seen him do that in his, what's that show called? What is America?
Who is America? Yeah.
Who is America? So he's kind of run that course also with that show, which I thought had moments that were great. And much like the Who is America show, it had moments of brilliance, but there's also large portions where you're just kind of sitting there not laughing, which in a comedy, especially like a shocking comedy, you want it to either shock you more or make you laugh more. And this one, I found a little disappointing. Like, don't get me wrong, I had huge laughs, but it wasn't the same as watching Borat for the first time, the original.
Max, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd say the degree of difficulty was very, very high because obviously the memory of the first Borat lives in our minds as like this like iconic all-time comedy piece. And since then, the world of comedy is so much wider and we get so much more of it because of like YouTube comedians. I think like we're just exposed to that much more stand-up and different types of weird humor, like even into like Nathan For You, like which is sort of similar. So we've been exposed to a lot. So I did think that I actually kind of tempered my expectations a little bit. I kind of knew that I was like, okay, I can't, because life is all about how you choose to frame it, things and the expectations you have going into something. So I chose to be a little reserved going into it. I also watched it with my friend Matt, Book Club Matty, Matt Fruckman, and manager Ash. And I was excited to watch with Matty because Matt's a good laugher. And I think that really helped my enjoyment of it because he was like exploding during certain parts. I also really was impressed with how they were able to maneuver in 2020 with like making the timelines feel really relevant, because I was like, how do you turn something around really quickly so it feels of the moment? And the fact that a lot of the piece was around COVID-19, and I don't want to give away too much of it, but like they kind of wrap it up nicely at the end, I think in a clever way. I thought that was an accomplishment. And I also loved the co-star, because the co-star, the young female comic, I forgot her name, but she was awesome, and I think that helped elevate it, because if it was just him trying to do everything, it would have been almost impossible. But because she did a lot of the heavy lifting, including the Rudy Giuliani bit, I think it really elevated it. So anyway, I think he went in to this whole project with like an impossible feat of like impressing us, and I think he did a really good job given the circumstances, given the way the culture moves, things that happened 2 months ago feel incredibly old. Just the editing I thought was really good. And I think it was really impressive. And again, I don't think, was it as funny as like a Nathan For You that I laughed at 2 years ago? Maybe not. Was it as funny as the first one? Maybe not. But it was a very like admirable piece in my opinion. Mikey, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I have a few thoughts. First, I'm kind of interested, Erica, in like your relationship with Borat, like your thoughts on Borat, because when the first one came out, you wouldn't even have been allowed to go to the theater to see it. I imagine it was 14 years ago, right? So
yeah, you were probably still in diapers when that came out.
What year was it?
So
it would have been
14 years ago.
2006.
206.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was 10, so I was not allowed to see Borat when it first came out. But I eventually saw it for the first time when I was probably like a few years after that. And I loved it. I love Borat 1. It's one of those movies that I can like, I'll revisit it like once or twice a year. And it's just like, it will never get old for me. I love Borat so much. And so I was very excited for this. I watched it last night. And yeah, I kind of agree with Shane. Like, I feel like a lot of it just sort of fell flat. Even the Rudy scene, like obviously all the hype was sort of around that one scene. It was near the end of the movie. It was kind of like the climactic part of the movie. And I didn't find myself laughing very often throughout it. And then even the scene where he was at that Trump rally and he was singing those songs, like part of that scene kind of leaked earlier in the summer, I remember. So I was expecting that to be like epic and just really like off-putting or something. And it was even still kind of like, I didn't really laugh that much during that either. And I mean, who's to say maybe, 14 years ago, we would have laughed a lot harder at that kind of stuff. But yeah, it just fell a little flat. I will say though, I think the ending was hilarious. Like, I think that was the funniest part, how they wrapped everything up. And
who did you watch it with, Erica?
I
watched it with my new friend Stuart.
Ooh, nice. Okay, so do you think it would have? No. The only reason I bring that up, I only bring that up because
none of your goddamn business, Max, who she watched it with.
No. I didn't need names. I was just curious if you watched it by yourself or with a group of people, because I do wonder how we would have reacted if we got to go to the movie theater to watch it.
It's a good question.
Yeah. Because comedy is meant to be seen with other people, many other people.
Audience too.
Yeah.
Were you paying attention to the movie?
Yes, I was. Yeah. Two of our other friends were there too, the other girl that we were with, she had never seen Borat 1, so she went into Borat number 2 with no context. That's cool. I don't think she laughed once. Like, she was just extremely confused, and even in the first like the first 10 or 15 minutes, there's so many callbacks to the first movie, just like his catchphrases and just where he is and like what like the characters that you see and stuff. And she was just so confused. She did not think it was very funny. I don't know how inclined she is to those kinds of comedies, but yeah, she didn't really get it.
See, Alex loved the first Borat so much. So she was so hyped that in the first 2 minutes, it was almost like she was fake laughing just because she wanted it to be so good.
So was I, yes.
But she petered off. And then it got almost awkward. Like I almost felt bad for Sacha Baron because there was a lot of silence in our house. And you know, I'm critical, but I'm not that critical. And my criticalness almost makes me laugh more because when I do break, I really bust out. But Alex is such an easy laugh. I felt bad. What about you, Mike? What thoughts?
Yeah, well, a lot of this was like Max was saying that he had to temper his expectations. Like I was like very much like, who knows? It's really hard to pull this kind of comedy off in 2020. Obviously, we saw with Who Is America, some stuff really hit, some stuff really kind of missed. So it's just hard to pull off. So I had low expectations. Then like Seth Rogen, Adam McKay, they're all tweeting that it's like the funniest movie they've ever seen. They've all watched it 7 times each. And I'm like, okay, that's something. All right, okay.
But they used to work with him too.
I know.
So you got to kind of kiss the ring and the ass.
So I'm kind of doing that. And then the Rudy thing comes out and I'm like, I wish that he hadn't screened it for like critics. I'm like, because now I feel like I'm waiting for something. And these kinds of experiences, you don't really want to know anything because if you're anticipating things, you're not really going on the journey. So anyway, there was a lot going into it. Also, actually, John Popoulos, who co-hosts the Pedestal with us, he was like super excited. So we were just kind of texting before and he was going, who are you going to watch it with tonight? And I was like, kind of confused because I was like, does he like want to watch it with me like during COVID? I'm kind of confused. And I'm like, well, I'll probably just watch it like after Win goes to bed. And he's like, yeah, but who are you going to watch it with? I didn't realize he was trying to tee me up to say my wife. But the thing is, Danica wasn't going to watch Borat. So but it took me forever to realize what he was trying to do in the fucking text message. And then I was like, I see.
That's good.
So anyway,
good for John. Round of applause for John.
I know. Yeah. I appreciated it. I
saw John on the street the other day. It was nice to see him in real life. Is he eating enough though? He looks a little skinny.
Maybe
is he eating enough?
I don't know. I haven't seen him on a Zoom or anything.
Yeah, I got to ask him. I haven't asked him in a while.
But
seen him.
My overall thoughts tend to lean definitely more towards Shane and Erica. Ultimately, because it's like, if anything, I felt like the narrative stuff kind of worked. Like when you guys talk about the sort of the ending and the way they tied everything to get together with COVID and all that, like that was more cinematic. That worked for me. I thought the woman that played his daughter was excellent. Some of that stuff really worked. And honestly, the best stuff, not really like the gotcha stuff or like the hidden camera stuff. It's hard because all you're thinking about is the fucking mechanics of the production. Like when he's in the cabin with the two guys.
And we know too much.
You know too much.
Like we know way more than we did 14 years ago about behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that stuff's just kind of like, why are these people allowing cameras? Like, it's like, I get it. It just felt more sort of like pure as much as you could.
Can we talk about jokes, like individual jokes, if we just say, hey, spoiler?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say is I think that the stuff that was the absolute funniest was honestly just Sacha Baron Cohen's like one-liners in moments, like real moments. You know what I mean? Like when he's running after Rudy and he just says things so funny. So to me, it's like what's supposed to be funny for a lot of people is like the construct or like him being at a rally or doing these crazy things. I find that like the funniest stuff will be like, you know, the gag is kind of like working, not working, whatever. He'll just have something in the moment that is so fucking funny. Those are the moments I laughed the most at in the movie, I found.
Yeah, I liked when like there's a part where his daughter meets him, but there's a monkey who's supposed to come in this crate, and then Borat sees that the monkey's dead, like he's been totally dismembered, and the monkey was obviously eaten by the girl, and his daughter's like, oh no, the monkey ate himself. And then 50 minutes go by, and then she's like, I did eat the monkey. The monkey did not eat himself. And I'm like, I would have never guessed that the part I'm laughing the hardest at is a scripted part, which I thought was interesting.
And not only that, so in the heat of their argument, you know, to hurt him, she does say that, and I did eat the monkey, as if it wasn't obvious.
He didn't eat himself.
But then when he's talking to someone else, he's like, I need to find my daughter again, and she says she ate the monkey, but I don't know if I believe her. He still doesn't want to believe that she ate the monkey.
Yeah.
Like just that's the stuff that worked so well for me. more than like him in the cabin with the two like, right-leaning sort of like conspiracy theorists.
And when she ate the cupcake with the baby, I didn't think that joke landed like perfectly. That whole like misdirection where she swallows this plastic baby that's on top of a cupcake, and then they take her to like a Christian pregnancy awareness center or something, and it's supposed to be all this misdirection and whatnot, but it just felt a little hacky, like you'd seen that 100 times before.
But then the baby keeps coming back, and at the end of the movie, she turned the baby into Borat, and then he finds it, and he like thinks it's so precious, and you're like, what the fuck?
It's funny, I didn't even realize that was the same baby. That's so interesting. I'm figuring that out right now.
Now it's a 10-star review.
Yeah, now it's pretty good.
It kind of shockingly did have some heart. Like you're kind of going on this journey, you're going, that works, that doesn't work, you're intellectualizing stuff, but then by the end, you're just sort of like, I don't know, it worked. You were going to say something, Maxie, though.
Yeah, well, the other issue is that we've become so desensitized to ignorant idiot Americans. Like every day on your Twitter, you'd be like, oh, do you know what this person said about the Jews? Or do you know what this person said about gun rights? Or this person said about abortion stuff? And you're just like, oh yeah, it's so obvious that like he has so many people to choose from if he wants to get himself in a situation where he can get people to say dumb stuff. So that part's not even shocking. So I wonder, it's like, what are other angles that he could have taken that would have been more nuanced? Because I think like where I was, sort of not uncomfortable, but just sort of not impressed was like, okay, he meets the two guys that take him in and end up like being Fox News loving crazy people who love guns. Like, okay, yeah, like, sure. Like, is there anything else that he could have done that would have been fresh seeming? I thought the dinner was interesting with the debutantes. Like that was an interesting slice of life that I had never seen before. So I wonder if
the girl tells her dad that he's a fucking creep or whatever, and she's like that part I rewound like 3 times.
But when they did the dance, and the dance I'm talking about, that was for me. That scene was the most where I had to like, I they say you watch Sasha, you're gonna cringe to the whole thing. That's the one that had me the most like, fuck. I'm like, I can't even watch the people reacting to this moment.
Oh, I love that part though.
It was the most effective. Like it was so effective that it just was like, oh yeah, he's getting this feeling that he wants to elicit, and it was just like, I cannot believe that they're doing this. And I kept thinking, is this camera tricks? Like, do they shoot in another room and then get like how much I just kept thinking about the mechanics of it. But either way, I was just like, this is a piece of like mainstream film is just insanity.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was pretty smart too funny with the ignorant American guys, how they set it up where they're explaining that Hillary like drinks the blood of children and vampire, all these crazy things. And then later on, Borat is explaining something and they're like, no, that's a conspiracy theory.
That was
and
great.
Just like just that was so funny and a great callback.
Yeah.
I thought go ahead, Jay.
I was just going to say the ending with Rudy Giuliani. I wish
the climax or lack of climax.
Yeah, exactly. I wish Borat would have waited a little longer before he busted in there, because Rudy was obviously, he was tucking in his shirt, but he was doing 2 things. He was tucking in his shirt and he was laying back waiting for Borat's daughter to use that opportunity to pull down his pants a little bit further. And I wanted to see what would have happened had it been 10 more seconds, 20 more seconds. But because it seemed like it was getting just at that moment to rush in, now Rudy has the perfect cop out, like, oh, I was obviously just tucking in my shirt. Anyone who says anything different is insane. Or a liar, or I will sue, or whatever.
I wonder how much like she had to make that call in the moment, or if going into it, they're like, okay, we're going to try to get him to do this thing. But the second it seems like it's a little sexual, we don't want to put you in a position that's uncomfortable, so we'll lock it down then. So like we'll be watching, and the second that happens, I'm going to come storming in. But it would have been that much more compelling, I think, if
they let it go just a couple beats longer.
And I'm curious.
Apparently I'm getting notes from my earpiece, actually. I watched an interview about this. Apparently he couldn't see, was only in touch with the room via text, and the concern was for her. But she trusted Sasha, but had her back because he's a producer and he's liable. So apparently they discussed this somewhere already.
I wonder, though, if, let's say Rudy did pull his pants fully and he exposed himself, would Rudy get in trouble for that? Because Rudy's a single man.
Is he single?
And yeah, he's divorced. He got divorced in 2019. would that be a scandal? I guess because it's a reporter and he's like on the job kind of, but he's also just an interview subject. It might be more on the reporter.
In the film, she was 15. So like that's what her character
know that,
was.
Though. He didn't know. Rudy didn't know that.
Are you sure?
I don't think you would assume any legitimate reporter, and like she presented herself like this was her first interview, like she was a new reporter, is 15.
Yeah, that's
fair.
know,
and in real life, the actress was not 15.
Yeah.
So
But also,
I wonder what would have happened.
Like there were cameras in the room, obviously, when that scene was happening, right? Oh, they were hidden?
Yeah,
it was like the OJ scene from
the
Who Is America, which I thought the OJ thing was even more compelling than the Rudy thing.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the woman, and I'm sorry I don't have her name, we should probably have it, who played the daughter, and this is like obviously her first major role, Sasha has basically tried to start like an Oscar campaign for her because of how good he, like there's this big junket interview where he's basically like, it'll be a travesty if she's not nominated for an Oscar. And so I've actually weirdly seen some like tweet stuff where people will mention it. Do you think that her performance was like that exceptional? I do. Yeah. I do. That's so. I'm on the record saying I think she was amazing in that film.
Yeah, she was fearless. So. It was awesome. It takes a special kind of person to be able to pull off all that stuff. And she was like right there with them. Because whenever you see Sacha Baron Cohen do this stuff, you're like, I don't know anybody else who could really, go toe to toe with him and just be just as gutsy. And she totally was. One thing that I would have maybe just thinking off the top of my head right now that I think I would have liked to see a little bit more, because again, as I said, like rednecks saying dumb stuff, that's kind of predictable. The one thing that's been interesting about the Trump administration throughout all this is that you get all these people talking off the record about what a fucking idiot Trump is and just like how corrupt the whole Republican Party is. It would have been interesting if somehow they got more staffers or people that still work with Trump to say bad shit about him. Like, you know what I mean? Like hidden camera stuff. That's interesting. I think that would have been the most sort of damning or interesting thing. I was listening to an interview with someone who used to be at the NRA and who wrote a book about it, and just sort of a tell-all book about how corrupt that organization is. So any of these institutions that clearly have the worst values and terrible leadership, I think it'd be pretty cool to have Borat sort of dupe them into saying things and having them exposed. I think that's what I would like him to do next.
It would have been cool to seduce Melania.
I know everybody's got their guard up, so that Melania is probably a hard one. But I wonder, like,
by the way, speaking of like Princess Melania or whatever they called her in the film, the cartoon was very funny when it showed like the story of how Trump and her met, and anyway, like the movie is funny. I just think that like if anything, like Shane and Erica said, maybe it just suffered from like expectations, or it's just really hard to do that kind of comedy in 2020 because like Shane or Maxie was saying, like, it's not shocking anymore. These insidious views that Sasha was exposing in 2006. Now people sort of proudly wear them on their sleeves or put them on Twitter. It's all very performative.
Her name is Maria Bakalova.
There you go.
Tudor. Yeah. So shouts to her. Amazing job.
Have you guys watched Nathan Fielder's new show?
Oh, no, but I want to. I'm very excited about that.
I read briefly about it.
Yeah, looks good. I taped it. I've yet to see it, but the trailer looked very awesome.
Hey, did you watch?
Don't say anything more.
Did you watch the Comedy Store yet, Shane? Episode 1?
No, I have to see it. It was honestly between Borat, The Debate, or the Comedy Store, and I just saw Simon talk about the Comedy Store thing. Also, as you led me down that rabbit hole of Simon's stories.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's a recommend. I'm only 2 episodes in, but it's been awesome so far. It's
is it more funny or emotional?
It's both. Like, because what they do is they like have all these guys like Letterman talk, like people giving candid, like Letterman, Leno, all these like legends, like talking about what it was like in those early days of the Comedy Store with Pryor and Robin Williams and all this stuff. And then they have old footage, like Dave Chappelle, like they'll talk about a lot about Mitzi and how she basically was like a gatekeeper. Anyway, we don't have to totally go into it, but if you're into comedy at all, check out the Comedy Store on Crave. It's like a multi-part series. And it's structured kind of interesting. Like he kind of like in episode 1, him and Marin are sort of doing a podcast, and that's kind of how they explain the story. And then episode 2, he's on Bill Burr's podcast, and then they sort of build, but then they get into like Freddie Prinze, who obviously is the father, Freddie Prinze. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it's super cool, super well done. I sort of threw it on a recommendation, and then I immediately, messaged you, Shaney, and Unzi and some other people, but it's very good.
Last thing on Borat.
I just want to say the name of the Nathan Fielder show is called How To with John Wilson, and it's on HBO. And I guarantee you, it says Nathan's executive producing, but I bet you he has his hands in it more than that. I feel like there's going to be a reveal, but it looks awesome.
Nathan believes in it so much he tweeted about it, and he doesn't tweet very often. He basically said, "I'm so proud of this show, whatever." He's like, "You have to watch it." I can't remember. It's not verbatim, obviously, but.
Last thing on Borat is I did appreciate how they put it out the day before they said what they were going to put out, which, I think The Last Dance got a lot of credit earlier in the year for seizing the moment and going, okay, there's all these people at home. Let's put it out early. Let's get to work on it. And I think, shouts to the team who are like, okay, there's going to be a lot of people in front of their TVs watching the debate. And I think it would be awesome to go right from the debate into that movie. And that's exactly what I did, and probably what a lot of people did. And so I thought that was a very, very savvy move. And it'll be interesting to see, what else happens in the next 12 days before the election. What other kind of things are revealed in popular culture? Because I think people are sitting on some things. That'd be my prediction.
Only 12 days until the election. Holy.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I think it might even be 10 days. November 3rd.
Who's going to win?
Okay, let's do quick predictions, and then we'll get to Shane's surprise. Who's going to win the election, Max?
Oh God!
Did you take political science at Mac?
I did. Yeah, I'm the resident expert here. I'm gonna go. Okay, there's one commentator I really like, Josh Barrow, who hosts this podcast, KCRW's Left, Right, and Center. He's in the center, and he doesn't hyperventilate in the way a lot of my other favorite liberal journalists do on Twitter all day long. Like he'd consider himself a liberal. He's definitely voting for Biden. But he's the first to call the left out on some of their own bullshit. And he's like, and so whenever anybody on the left was mad that Biden was the candidate, and he was like, no, he's the most electable guy. He's going to win. Stop it. So if Barrow says Biden's going to win, that's what I'm saying too.
Mm-hmm.
Shaney? Oh, Erica's going Biden.
Wow.
Yeah, I refuse to believe anything else. So let's just stick with that.
I mean, it's cooler to say Trump. But
way cooler to say Trump, because if you put your money on that, you'd win a lot back if it was on one of Mikey's gambling apps. And it's a boring answer, but I really think Biden's going to win.
I actually have the odds on my gambling app. They do presidential. You can go state by state and the general. We'll see right now.
What are they?
I do think you're right that Biden is favored. Me and Danica literally just looked at this like a week ago because we were talking about it. I said, I'm only betting basketball. So Biden is minus 210 and Trump is plus 175. So if you bet...
Speak English, Doc.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
So if you were to bet $100 on Trump to win the election, you would get back $275.
And if you bet Biden?
If you were to bet Joe Biden to win $100, it would make you $147. So it
would make you that much, or you'd get $47?
$47. That's the return. Yeah.
Do we put our money where our mouths are?
The pod bet?
Yeah, should we go in on a bet? We'll each pitch $25.
Okay, so right now, so let's say that we went crazy and we put $1,000 on Joe Biden.
Whoa.
We'd only win $476, but you could lose $1,000 if Trump pulls it off. That's how this thing works.
Do we as a show of solidarity, text our accountant David Buss and say, David, we need $100. We're making a bet on.
I think it could be fun.
I think it's fun. Let's do it. How much are we doing? 100, 500? What are we talking?
Yeah. What are we comfortable with? Erica said 100, but I'm comfortable going higher than that. Like, what do we say? 300?
For $100 each?
Oh, $100 each, because that would, there's four of us.
Okay, let's do $400 from the band account. Not the band account, the pod account.
No, I prefer the band account, actually, if the Arkells are willing to.
Yeah, let's do $4,000 if it's from the band account.
Yeah.
Did you just get a note from Manager Ash?
Oh, there's five of us. Oh, yeah. She's like, I'm in on this too, obviously. So
five
okay, we're doing
500.
500 on Biden. That's what
500 on Joe Biden.
Guys, and if we win, how much money would we get?
Okay, $500 on a Biden outright win would return $738. So that means we'd make $238.
We're going for dinner.
Podcast dinner.
Yeah.
Wow, this is the most into politics I've ever been. This is exciting.
That being said, guys, I don't want to get too complicated, but we could hedge with Trump.
Okay. So, But that might be, Max might get mad at hedging against that. Like, you know, you're so political in your songs. Would you feel wrong about putting a hedge on there?
Yeah, I don't think I could do it.
All right. Biden all the way.
Ah, screw it.
Guys, I don't know if we have time for a Shane surprise. I have to go.
Cue the music.